remembering to reflect. And with that, we're going to get into it. I saw this, somebody brought this video um, up in a meeting that I was attending, and I wasn't able to attend it long, but long enough to get this video clip. Now, this video clip is from 13 years ago, and it's Ann Coulter, and she's on George Stephanopoulos' show on ABC News. So let's check this out.
Comment in your new book here, Mugged, and I think it's on page 151. You write that various groups, feminists, gay rights groups, and those who are defending immigrants have commandeered the Black civil rights experience.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that, because I think it's one of the most important points of the book. I mean, I think the way liberals have treated blacks like children, and many of their policies have been harmful to blacks. At least they got the beneficiary group right. We do have to, I mean, we shouldn't. There is the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow laws. We don't owe the homeless. We don't owe feminists. We don't owe women who are desirous of having abortions, but that's, or gays who want to get married to one another. That's what civil rights has become for much of the left. They dropped the blacks after 5 minutes.
Immigrant rights are not civil rights?
No, I think civil rights are for blacks.
See, this is essentially the problem, and the Republicans don't understand.
What have we done to the immigrants? We owe black people something. We have a legacy of slavery. Immigrants haven't even been in this country.
But you see, most of us are either immigrants or are the descendants of immigrants, and we understand that not everybody. There are Native Americans there, but we understand in this country. We understand in this country that kind of self-deportation, making things so difficult for immigrants, for undocumented immigrants, that they have to leave, or the DREAM Act, vetoing, threatening to veto the DREAM Act, which is what Romney has said. I mean, and again, we have Governor Romney, who is basically taking a position that is anti a large and the fastest growing segment of the electorate.
And here's the thing, if Republicans don't do something with immigration, and if Republicans are so far away from Latinos, they're going to lose not only this election, they might lose the White House for generations.
The future.
And Texas could turn from red to blue.
That's why the Democrats are dropping the blacks and moving on to the Hispanics, because they're a larger group of Hispanics now. But can I just say to Jorge, I hate to disagree with you when you're attacking President Obama, but I think the point on immigration is you can have open borders or you can have a welfare state. You cannot have both.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love how Ann Coulter, when she was bringing up, how are you just going to drop the black people whose civil rights was actually written for and apply it to other people? And that's what I'm glad she brought up again. This was 13 years ago. So Obama was in office at the time. Okay. Trump didn't become president until 2016. So like 3 years later. But they were having this conversation about civil rights then. Okay. And we've always had this conversation about civil rights, and people get it mixed up because in 1866 is when Black Americans specifically got civil rights. To have to be written into legislation to have freedom, even though the Constitution says that all men are free and created equal. Very interesting. If all men are free and created equal, how do we have amendments that have to further protect a specific group of people? I don't know if everybody's ever really asked that question in the way I'm proposing that question, but it then always comes back to, well, you guys, no, stop that. And even as I discovered, Senate Bill 9, that was written in 1867, that was supposed to further protect freed slaves, never got passed. It was presented as legislation. It was never passed. So that is why you see Jim Crow laws. That is why you see sundown towns, because there's actually not a piece of legislation to tell people you can't do that. Even though in the Emancipation Proclamation it says you can't do that, people still did. Our federal government failed to enforce the laws because guess what? The Confederate Army was released. shortly after Reconstruction was in place, but was it 1869? Or no, 12 years later. So it would have been 18 in the 1870s. Yeah, they were released. So you wonder why we have such a great divide in this country. It's because there were protections that needed to be written in, which shouldn't have to be, because again, with our First Amendment, it says that all men, that means everybody, no exclusionary clauses, are created equal. Are we really going to start living that? That's the question. That's where I'm at today, celebrating Martin Luther King. Why aren't we there? And why are we still trying to use Black people as human shields for criminal activity now? It's criminal activity now. What? We got people posing as the Black Panther Party talking about we're fighting for illegals. We've got somebody else, another video I'm going to share for you, where they're saying we need to do a boycott to protect illegal immigration. Black people, stop this. Or I should say melanated people posing as Black Americans. If you don't stop, I'm telling you, I'm gonna play this video. I was a little bit incensed. I was a little bit upset. I was a little bit hot. It's like, what are you doing? We are not boycotting to protect illegal immigration. ICE needs to do their jobs. And ICE is everywhere. By the way, they're in Florida. They're in Tennessee. They're in California. But the only place that you hear about ICE are the places that are trying to stop them from deporting people that are here illegally, like Minnesota, Illinois. You don't even hear a lot of fuss out of New York because they're not standing in the way of ICE. They know better. We are going to have every single illegal person removed from the soil. Civil rights isn't to protect your sexuality. Civil rights isn't just for everybody, because you're not written into the Constitution to have to be protected. There's no amendments for you. It was for descendants of slaves that the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment is even there, because they couldn't resolve the fact that they're free and they have every single right that everybody else has. They had to write in loopholes, which the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment give, which are loopholes to other people to further harm the people that were free. And you say, well, what do you mean by that? What I mean by that is birthright citizenship, which isn't a thing. Okay. And it should never be a thing. And SCOTUS better get it right. Oh, you better get this right, because DACA is illegal. Coming here on the soil and just plopping a baby and saying, well, my baby's a citizen. No, they're not. These naturalized citizens coming over here having all these babies, overstaying visas, the nonsense going on. You know what your intentions were before you got here. And your intentions were to make sure you had a tie to the soil. That's why people are called tethers. Because you're not doing this the right way. You're doing this the wrong way. And we're going to make sure that you are uprooted off of the soil, and you need to come back from whence you came. The American people are tired, or at least me as an American citizen, I'm tired. I don't like people taking advantage of other people. I'm not a fan of it at all. Okay. And someone says Hispanics are not the same. There's large political, cultural, and race difference. There are millions of them, that illegal criminals that have entered our nation with an agenda to change. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And thank you for joining us, Dr. Pantheo 54 and Sassy Lady. Thank you for joining us and reposting the stream. And Mr. Black, Thank you for joining us and reposting the stream. I know you guys might not always see me read comments because there's only one of me again. I do need a moderator, and I keep the comments closed so I can focus on actually getting through the show, because it does take time to read the comments, bring them up, and do all those things. But back to how people need to get up off the soil. So let me just play this next video for you. And this is talking about, I guess, the new Black Panther Party. There's a video that's been going around, or an individual, I should say. He says he's a part of the new Black Panther Party. Does not look like a melanated American at all. I was like, who are you? What is really going on? So let's check this out.
The winner again. Now that newly formed Black Panther Party, you guys, don't buy that, man. That's not us. Do you think Fred Hampton made all those idle threats? Do you think us as Black Panthers in the day went around in public telling these white people what we're going to do to them, how we feel, what they're going to do if they do this, blah, 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 blah? No, that's tether talk, man.
Censored by
because we're a little more cunning, okay? Our foundational Black American Black Panthers, we never went around in the street telling what we're going to do and make all these idle threats, especially talking about deleting police officers. Come on, man. If sounds too ridiculously insane to be some that America's main vein wouldn't say, then it's something that us FBA would not say, would not act, and would not be. This is why this delineation is huge. This flat black, this one big black nigga is over. So now when them niggas is out there threatening the police, and them niggas is out there with their guns, talking about we got more guns, that's them niggas. Don't come kicking in my door, ICE, police, feds, because that's all these chumps are doing. They're setting themselves up to be popped. And the thing is, that's kind of what they did to Fred Hampton. I remember my brother Phil Scott was mentioning, and I was thinking, yeah, that's right. That's what they did to the real Black Panthers. They had these mouthpieces go out there and start talking about what they're going to do and what they're going to do, and they riled all the white people up and riled the law up, and then they came after the real ones and came and bombed that nigga. Remember Philly, when they went looking for them niggas? That was one of the only places where Americans bombed Americans on American soil. Bombed, right? They did that to us a few times here, man. Greenwood, right? So, don't be listening to these Tethers. I tell you, they're dangerous. Tethers are just as dangerous to us, foundational Black Americans, as white supremacists are, because they have the exact same philosophy when it comes to us. When it comes to each other, they'll kiss Mr. Charlie's ass. He's the one who steals their land, right? He's the one he's ICE. He's the deporters, right? But yet, when it comes to him, these Tethers don't say shh. But now these newly formed Black Panther niggas is out there talking mad, cast, crazy, suicidal shit. I'm asking, how many of y'all foundation Black Americans gonna grab your gats and go out there with those tethered niggas talking shooting? Right? Right? That's not us. We're a little more cunning. We're not going to tell the enemy, like Neely Fuller Jr. said, we're not going to tell the enemy what we're doing. We're not going to tell the enemy what we got. We're not going to tell the enemy where we are, especially when the enemy's constantly looking for me, right? When the enemy needs just this much of a reason to wipe me completely the out. And we cannot let these tethers be that reason anymore. Yeah. So when you see these dumbass niggas out there talking, we're going to do that to the tops. We got them more done to do. We going to do. That ain't no we, that's all them.
Yeah. Well said. In my opinion. Well said. And I did use what is it? It's a website called Curse Cut. And so that's why you heard that little voice in the background. I'm just trying it out because I know a lot of us are Christians here. I don't like to hear a lot of cursing, and some people deem it necessary. It's like, okay, I'm just making that emphasis, but sometimes it's just a little bit over and it's much. And I'm like, okay, you've made your point, and now I can use Curse Cut, so I don't have to hear those expletives, so people can really listen. But to his point, that's how the Black Panthers moved. The Black Panthers were not people, or they were not a group that were just out in the street talking about what they were going to do. Now, what they did do as an organization, they did make sure that people understood the Constitution, their Second Amendment rights, especially how to protect themselves. If they got into situations, they also had school programs for children, making sure that they ate, making sure they did their homework, making sure that there was more community involvement, making sure they were participating in the civil process. That's what the Black Panthers were about. Whatever this new stuff is, it needs to be quelched immediately. And I demand that they stop defaming the original Black Panther Party, because in my opinion, it's co-opting at its finest. It's not even appropriation, it's co-opting. And you are trying to co-opt an organization that was actually infiltrated by the FBI under COINTELPRO and destroyed. But see, they didn't destroy everyone. Again, not broadcasted. It's going to do. We're going to do it and not tell you, because it's, as this, gentleman stated, every time we talk to you about it, you're right there destroying us. And yes, they did bomb American citizens. But see, again, to my point, there's legislation on the books that has never been passed. But that goes back to my further point. Why do we need legislation for protections for a particular group of people based on the melanin in their skin? What are we doing? And what hasn't been done? And why is it not being fixed? The First Amendment applies to me. I am created equal, period. I have all the rights and freedoms available to me as every other human being in the United States. I am of this soil. Legit. Yeah. Traced back over 400 years. Documented. I've got the paperwork. Okay. So I can speak for me and mine. But these immigrants coming over here demanding things as if they think they can, guess what? We are going to fight to make sure that we get every Democrat out of office. All the demons that are trying to destroy this country, we are going to make sure that you are removed, and that every single one of these people that do not align with this Constitution on this soil, you about to get up out of here. We're going to see a lot more mass deportations. I'm glad that the visa programs are being shut down. I am grateful that people are being deported in mass. You need to leave. You do not align with us. And for these individuals protecting illegal immigration, oh, I need y'all locked up in federal prison. I just need you locked up. Well, there's freedom of speech in it. Okay. But when it leads to harming other people and groups of people, yeah, that's my problem, because it's insightful at a certain point. Now let's listen to this individual, and they're talking about having a strike, but they want to strike to have ICE removed. ICE is there to remove criminals and people that have deportation orders, but they want to protect these people. I don't know. I can't even get down with the crazy, but that's where we are.
We are not going to work. We are not going to school on Friday, January 23rd. And so for some people, they call that a strike. For many of us, we say that this is our right to refusal until something changes. We deal with unions, like the St. Paul Federation of Educators, Unite Here, Local 17, SEIU, Local 26, our ATU, our transit union here in Minnesota, and many, many more unions are gathering. We are asking every single person, every family member, every teacher, every bus driver, every child care worker, to come together, to be in community, to stand with one another. That's exactly what Renee Good was doing. Standing up for her neighbor.
Okay, stop. This is the energy that they want. And when I say they, I'm talking about the progressives. I'm talking about the Democratic Party. I'm talking about these demons that need Black people out in the street because, see, without our energy, this goes nowhere. You see how she was like, she was out there protecting her neighbors. No, she wasn't. She was interfering in a federal investigation. Again, she was interfering in a federal investigation. She put her car in front of federal agents. She was taunting federal agents. She refused a direct, full, lawful order. I am not saying her being shot isn't a, you know, I'm not saying that was right. I don't want to see people lose their lives for being ignorant and being incited to commit a crime. But that's what's happening right here. You are up there as someone of the cloth. She was protecting her neighbors. No, she wasn't. She was committing several crimes. Several. How dare you sit up here and actually are trying to get people to go on strike? Nobody go on strike, okay? We need to have a whole party, all right, in front of all everything. Go shopping. But hey, shop local. Shop local. Let's build up the small businesses, shall we? I don't care. Don't go to Walmart and Target and everything because they're supporting this nonsense. They're supporting this nonsense. So don't go shopping there. But yeah, your little corner stores and, people that yeah, give them a boost on Friday. I'm calling for an anti-strike. Do not go out supporting this nonsense. But let's continue and let's finish.
Her whistleblowing was returned by bullets. We cannot let that stand. Minnesota will not continue to be a testing ground for the kind of fear and violence that is expected for the rest of this country. We will not allow that to happen. There are lies being spewed about our neighbors here to give an excuse to try to validate why we have thousands of masked officers here harming our people and harming us, taking citizens from where they work, beating people up and dropping them off at random locations. This is not rumor. We are seeing it with our own eyes every single day. And so now is the time. If you ever wondered for yourself, when is the time that we do something different? When is the time that we stand up and say that this has to change, that this needs to end? The time is now.
Yeah, so we need to pray for her. This is at Labor on the Line. Labor on the Line. So I guess this is a group of individuals that are pro illegal immigration. Let me say that again. They are for the nonsense. Okay. They love it. They love the chaos and the nonsense. And again, I think she was a priest or maybe a preacher or minister because she didn't have the little square on her throat. And I think it's disgusting that they are using people of the cloth to support illegal activity. That young woman, it hurts my heart that she lost her life and that her children are going to grow up without their mom. You may not like everything she did, but at the end of the day, that's their mom, and they no longer have their mom. What is really heartbreaking is how this individual was radicalized in the amount of, time that they were radicalized. And basically being told you have a right to go up against federal agents. That is criminal. And I hold the organizations that encouraged her responsible. That's who I hold responsible. This officer that shot her, people were like, he shouldn't have he did. He shot because he feared for his life. That is allegedly his position. Now, the other position, and I'll keep it at allegedly, she was given a direct order, and you hear it more than once, to get out of the vehicle. She was not ordered to move her vehicle, right? They didn't say, hey, move your car. You need to. She was ordered to remove herself from the vehicle because she decided to park in front of ICE agents and block them in the middle of the street. She made that decision based on people telling her, you should act in this way, to deter them because they are, disappearing people. No, these people have deportation orders. These people are murderers. These people are pedophiles, allegedly. And I'll keep it all alleged, right? To keep it above board. Allegedly, they have deportation orders, and that is why ICE is there. And they were wondering, well, why are there so many? Because they need those amount of agents, because that's the amount of crime that they have there. They're not just sending them there because they feel like it. They're sending them there because it has become a hub for criminal activity, for people that are here on the soil illegally, where you have a governor and a mayor harboring allegedly illegal individuals who have deportation orders. They're sending them to detainment centers. Now, to be respectful, if these people were held, because some of them committed crimes and they were arrested, if they were held at the jail cell and ICE was to go to the jail cell, pick them up, you would never see this activity go out in the middle of the street. The only reason you see is because they've been released back into the community, putting the community at risk. Who's responsible for that? The politicians in that state, at the state and local level. You're putting everybody at risk, but then you want to blame the people who are doing their job to remove them. You created the problem. Problem is trying to be solved, but now it's creating another problem. And now you want a solution worse than the problem that is going to even try to solve. Like, what are we doing? It's a mess. It's a mess. And it needs to be dealt with. It needs to be dealt with. Now, before we take a quick break, I want to bring up another issue that's going on, very similar to New York. But this, again, this has to deal with fraud, and we know it's going on everywhere. But it's how the states are dealing with it. That's the bigger thing. Oops.